Just getting everything ready here. a stream right now. It's me. You guys can hear me okay? Close a couple things that could be squishing some data. So how steady is this? I might just talk to myself. Let's see how it all goes. I feel like this is lagging. I used to have this thing that told me the health of the stream. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm going to bail on these and see if that makes a difference. Alrighty. I'm just gonna get her going. I guess the perfect. Oh, hey Jason. Look at my usual faithful. What is it that you guys want to talk about? I think that fan is actually my computer fan, like surviving. Sketch notes. That's awesome. Well, I'm going to start with this one. If you guys don't have any topics, I was going to talk about people are mentioning that they're having issues with card storage and kind of where to put stuff and how I keep things organized, especially the more cards you create. Essentially, that organizational piece about how you keep them kind of, you know where they are, how many you got, all those different kinds of things. So I'm going to start off by showing you guys these. Some of you that have been to my class have seen these. Oh, the leg. Let me just do a quick, see if I can axe anything off. It's killing me here. Maybe these. I am gonna need a new computer. Oh boy. Alright, well, I'll see what I can do. Oh, okay, that's not bad then, that's not bad. I struggle a lot with perfectionism. It sucks. Okay, anyway, I want to show you guys these things. These are called deck cases. They're made by I think they're actually made by Wizard. So those are the people who make Magic cards. And these are actually pretty sweet when it comes to keeping your cards organized because they have them in a bunch of different colors. So I think that I know that I think it was Jordan I saw, and then Jordan was in a conversation with somebody who was asking about these boxes, or storage ideas. So the first thing I have is these boxes. So when you actually open up these boxes, they can hold like at least 150 cards. So that's pretty substantial. I think I've squeezed about 200 in some. So the first kind of tip I'd give you when it comes to organization is by the color. So you notice the box is blue, and you're going to notice that the frame of my card is blue. So immediately I know that blue cards, blue box. Seems really simple, but this is something that immediately when I was doing this about 5 years ago when I really started this was something I consciously made a decision to do, because when I realized how many cards eventually would be coming to the game, these things actually, the color framing was something. So anything in blue for me, I put on the top is I've got XP. So yeah, using a binder and stuff is very similar. Why I like the cards is because inside then the box, what they come with is these. And you actually, what I do is I just measured this out, and then you can make them on cardstock, laminate them, and then kind of very similar to the way that you're mentioning you do tabs and binders. You can just put the divider in between the cards, and then you can write on top of this, and then you can kind of find them really quickly. The other thing that I do is I put them in alphabetical order, because that alphabetized cards makes a huge difference when you know you're going, for a card that starts with the letter S, you're going to be going towards the back of the box versus, A, which would be in the front. So that's something that's worked actually quite a bit. And then, I don't know how well I'll be able to show this, but if I maybe turn it sideways, and I got the delay, so if this doesn't work, I'm going to assume it works. You can see that the lip sticks out over top. And then this is actually almost similar to like a whiteboard. But what you can do is, I actually got these, my wife got them for me. We were out shopping for toys for kids yesterday, and the issue with dry erase markers is that wipes off all the time. And we found these, dry erase crayons. And I gotta tell you, these things are cool. They don't rub off, they don't rub off really easily. So when you label things, like the little plastic edging here, what happens is that if you bump into them or brush them, it doesn't rub off. You actually have to use a cloth that's provided to scrub it off. And again, it's not like scrubbing, but it actually has made a pretty huge difference. Yeah, I don't really explain it. It's remarkable what crayons did for my organization. So what I did was, I've got my XP card, so I know if a kid wants an XP related card, I grab the blue box. My food is in yellow. My access card, so that's like hats, music, all those kind of access cards, are green. And again, I'll show you, right? Green frame, green box, written over top. Keeps things nice and organized. And again, I have a red one, and I have a black one that I don't have here. So that's one tip. The second tip I have is this thing here. Whoopsies. Whoop. Which is actually a business card holder I found at Staples. I know, Alicia, you are in the US. These card boxes, Jason, I bought them in just like a magic card store, like one of those game shops where you'd find like the magic cards and stuff. And they actually got tons of different sizes and colors. Like you see, like the yellow one is thinner, considerably thinner than the green one. So these would be your more rare or kind of unique cards. And then the other thing that I found really differently that's good. So I'm not sure in Pennsylvania what you'll have. We have Staples in Canada. I'm sure you got like Office Depot or something. But this is a business card holder. And this has been huge because turns out my game cards are completely the same size as business cards. And they actually have the alphabetized cards in them. So you can kind of see here that I've got my ABC. And, oh, perfect, yeah. So check out Staples. This was like $12, I think. And I bought this years ago. And it expands open, so you can get a ton of stuff. And yeah, I love donations. I don't know where we would be without donations because the gaming community saves us so much, which is so cool. So if you look at it here, you're going to have your individual little tabs. Oh, no problem. You have your individual tabs here. And so you can actually alphabetize your cards, and they fit super... Oh, I see, yeah. Sorry, I can see the delay in my stream now, so I'm kind of getting better at this. So that works really, really well in terms of holding cards. So because these things are big, I have 2 of these. All my intro starter cards go in here, and they're all done alphabetically as well. And then the second thing, oh perfect, yeah, I can see that now on my stream, good. And then my resource cards, because there's so many of them. And this is a super really quick and easy way to keep things organized, because then you can just kind of flip through as needed, and then, you know, pull out the card, and it's really easy to find out what you're out of, because, you know, if you need leather and you go to the L and the leather slot is empty, you know immediately that you're out of that card. So those are kind of 2 tips and tricks that I use for organization. I know, like Jordan saying, I've got certain cards in binders with tabs, kind of my more rare cards, or more powerful cards, if you will. So those are kind of things that have helped me. I think I got them here. I also do this. This is literally the most simplistic thing in the world. I use just envelopes. So this is my battle cards. So these are my magic spells for battle cards. Actually, I'm going to talk about those in a bit. So because these are kind of one-offs or things that I use kind of sporadically, I just have them in one little packet because I need them all in one shot. So these are things that I would give to kids and then collect back after a guild battle, which I'll reference in a little bit. And then, so like, I got my puzzle items, and the puzzle items, you know, are more unique kind of special cards that you make. And because, again, these are rare, I could keep these in a binder, but I have just a little drawer in my desk that has these envelopes, and I just kind of flip through the envelopes and kind of grab the one that I need. So those are kind of the ways that I keep things as organized as possible. It is what it is. Sometimes it gets messy, it gets crazy, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast when it comes to gamification and the cards, because you're going to get so many that are created, and you're going to get so many ideas that you're eventually just going to have to start. But those boxes that I showed earlier, and those business card holders are fantastic places to start, because you are going to have a ton of extra... These hairs on my head are driving me nuts. You're going to have a ton of different storage options in just those boxes alone, because collectively what I showed you, the yellow, blue, green, and the business card holder, those will hold probably upwards of 1,000 cards. So as long as you have the little dividers and alphabetized, that's probably the 2 biggest tips I would give to keep things organized. And then either, like Jordan mentioned, some tabs and some binders, or envelopes that are just kind of in a little area. Speaking of cards, and if, as usual, interrupt me if you have any questions or anything, for sure. In the link when I post this live, you know, after for the replay or whatever, I'm going to post, there's another thing that I found online. It's actually like a leather-bound book that has single card slots in it, and it looks like a spell book, and it's on Amazon. When you crack that sucker open, it holds like 50 unique cards, and it's really spectacular for most classes because it looks old and kind of ancient and powerful. And that's another thing that I'm looking at potentially getting. I think it was like $14 on Amazon. Someone had shared it in a gaming group, and it's another thing. It's just kind of like a picture, like a binder where you put your hockey cards in, except it's just single cards, and it holds 50. And that would be what I would use for Magic or something, because it excuse me, hiccups. It holds. It looks so cool and unique that's where I put my kind of rare things. So I might not maybe use an envelope if I order that, kind of get my special stuff. Now, what I want to talk about is everybody uses MTG Cardsmith. That was kind of one of the ideas that I was chucking around years and years ago when I was trying to figure out how to make cards, and then found it online, and then found some teachers using it, and then kind of just a group of us started promoting it and pushing it. And it's been a game changer. But here's what I realized. You get your colored frames, you get your basic stuff, and then it kind of dies. So I've kind of put out this challenge to myself to figure out how to make cards that are going to like make kids' brains melt. Like the unique, like how would you create foil cards and things like that. Get sparkles and holographics on cards. So I really thought about this for a long time, and these are kind of solutions. And I've kind of blogged about this. I think I reference it in my books. I'm not 100% sure. I can't even remember what I wrote in my books, but I want to show you guys some tips and tricks. So first of all, when I pulled out that item, you're going to see that I had this gold card. Now this is super rare. This is called my shapeshifter. So this card has the ability to become any card in the game. Should do a summer workshop. I love this stuff. Terrain building and card making. But I'll show you. So what I did was, I know I can't print on this. So when you look at it, it's glossy, it's shiny. Okay, perfect, good. I'm glad. So I'll show you actually what it looks like, the procedure looks like. So there's the finished product of the card, and you can see it gleams and it sheens, as I put my Charlie Sheen joke on my last video. And what I did to do this was I went to, for us it's Michael's in Canada, I'm pretty sure they have that in the States, and I found these in the wedding invitation section. They're just like these kind of fancy looking foils that you're supposed to print, you know, wedding invitations or stuff on. And I found them in gold and I found them in silver. And this pack here had 5 each of the gold and the silver. So what I did was I went to MTG Cardsmith. Okay, good. Well, I'll kind of show you. It's, I thought I included it, but I'll kind of just show you. So I took that foil, went to MTG Cardsmith, and I created my card that I wanted. So I created the Shapeshifter card. Then the second thing that I did is I printed them out, and then I traced the card onto this paper. So I went like this, and I traced it, and I cut it out. So then I had a foil-shaped card with nothing on it, and then I had the card that I wanted foiled. So then what I did is I would go ahead and I would cut out the shape, and then when I glued them on, I cut out the wording that I wanted that was important on the card, and I glued it over top, and when I laminated it, I actually had my foil cards. And kids, when kids see this, because it is so rare in my game, I have silver ones and gold ones, when kids see this, they go absolutely nuts for it, because they understand its value and its rareness. And that is something that I was shocked at how motivating it was for kids, just simply because it was crazy to me how many kids were then like, oh my god, have you seen this, and then how did you get it, and then little challenges in stores and like you know, trading and everything just kind of rose from it. So if you're ever at any sort of like hobby store or, you know, crafting store, if you ever see cool reflective metallic papers, even if it's like a cool matte pattern, like a galaxy pattern, I know that was huge for a while, all you got to do to make them is just cut out the frame of the card that you would normally make, glue it, and when you laminate it, you get kind of this one-piece card that looks really cool. I know I had alluded to this, but in the card stuff, and then I'll get to the new one. So the fabric cards. So I've got this thing in my game called the Robe of War, and ironically I haven't done it yet this year. I'm going to make a new one, but what I did was I wanted like those jersey cards when I was a kid that you could never find, with the piece of the jersey in the card. What I did was I found this kind of old looking fabric, probably should have bloodstained it in retrospect, and what I did was I made the card that I wanted with no image in between. And what from there I did was I cut out the shape and I created a duplicate of the card so I could stack them like this, and then I would have a hole with the black on the back. Then I took the piece of my cloth, sandwiched it in between, and then what you were left with was an exposed cloth. Made sure it was glued down as flush as I could, not too much glue. The first ones I made I put too much glue, and what happened was the glue was really visible and it didn't look good. So what I did instead was I just remade them and I put just a little dab of glue. You could even use tape just so that it holds. Then when you run it through a laminator, the card's going to be a little bit thicker than usual because it's going to be 2 cards thick. and this one went through a washing machine. You can see it's curling the laminate. But what I did was this thing became massively cool because you could create stories and narrative around finding pieces of the clothing, or magic scrolls or things like that with this, and it became super captivating for kids because this was, again, super unique. Another little tip that I do, and I'm going to hope that you can see this, is there's a power and toughness indicator on MTG Cardsmith in the bottom here. I don't use it for power and toughness. What I do is the first number, so the number / number, the first one expresses the quantity of the card, and let me try that again. The first number says which one you have of it, and the second number says how many there are. So what that means is, in the one that I'm showing you right now, it says 1 out of 3. That means you have card 1 of 3, and there are only 3 of them in the whole game. So, why, thank you, Racerbeak. It was a goal of mine to get to 1,000, and now it's my goal to get to 1,500 by the end of the year. We'll see. So these fabric cards are pretty huge, and again, that number in the bottom corner is pretty cool, as something that we can use to keep the variety and to show the rarity, because again, you can call cards mythic rare and stuff, but when kids see the value of them, oh, there's only 3 in the whole game and I have 1, and there's 90 kids in 5 classes, and kids get pretty hyped about that. Here is one, I don't think I included, I feel like I did. Alicia will tell me. I'm going to show you these here. So, whoops, I just launched them all over the floor. So, what I did was I created some magic cards, and well, I don't even know why I told you that. Of course, that's obvious. And I should probably plan stuff, but I don't. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but this was an ice ball. So the idea, this is a temporary card I can use in a guild battle, the one I'm going to do in film and explain on Monday. But what happens is when the kids use the ice ball, I wanted the ball itself to look cool. So I started thinking, like, how can I make a holographic or something unique? So I'm not sure if you're able to see this, but I'll kind of hold it up and I'm going to kind of rock it back and forth. But if you can see, the ice ball itself, just the ice ball, has a bit of a sparkle to it. Hopefully that was long enough. And I was able to achieve that by using nail polish. So what I did was I talked to kids. Let's see if you can see this. Hey, you can. Perfect. So what I did was I talked to some kids, and I said, "Have you got nail polish?" And they're like, "Why do you want nail polish?" And I said, "I just need a nail polish that dries clear, but like a top coat for glitter or whatever." So a couple of my awesome students showed up with some of these different ones. So this is actually the one on the card I showed you. And when I printed the card, before I laminated them, what I did was you just take this nail polish and you paint over the areas where you want the glitter bits to be. So did that, painted with the glitter, let it dry good, because you don't want the you don't want to screw up your laminate or your laminator, because then you'll die. And what happened is it dried, and I was able to get that holographic kind of look. Here is what I found didn't work with me. I bought glitter, just straight up glitter, and I put a glue stick glob and I smeared it so I had no lumps, and then I sprinkled some of this glitter. I found that it didn't hold really well. So if you do have access to glitter, my workaround for that was to spray hairspray over it, and the hairspray locked everything on, and then when I laminated it, it didn't kind of screw up in the laminator. So using glitter or clear drying nail polish were ways that I was able to do it. And then again, like, I wanted a sparkle that was a chunky kind of sparkle for ice. I have lightning in a bottle, and this one here, I wanted to look like little beams. So I actually had this one right here, which kind of had that straight bar kind of sparkle to it. And yeah, those are the only two that I got with me. So, oh, you're one of my students, Razorbeak. 9 o'clock on a Saturday, hanging out with your teacher. Yeah, I got something planned for that. Hopefully it turns out good. I'm gonna learn some Photoshop. Fingers crossed. Or shutter speed too. Anyway, that's here now there. So what I've got going on now is that's kind of a little spiel I want to do about cards. Well, I guess there's one more thing. This is an interesting one. It works sometimes and it doesn't. It's a good honesty test for your kids. I've got these stickers. Now you can pick anything you want. Oops. So they're little stars, okay? And what you do with them is, I sometimes have cards that are multi-use. So for my food cards, let me just find one real quick that's can eat more than once. Only on a Saturday would a gamification teacher be looking at food cards. Alright, so I got my food card, and remember I was telling you the numbers in the bottom? Another use for food for me is that the first number indicates how many times you can eat the food. Oh, perfect. Well, there you go. You should probably know what I'm selling. And then, thanks, Alicia. And then the second one here that you see is the amount of health that it restores. So that's another little tip and trick when it comes to item creation, in terms of making the cards do all the memory work for you. Because before I started doing that, the struggle that I had was I forgot how much foods were, how many times you could eat them, and that helped. And it brings me back to these stickers. So when a kid, oh sure, yeah. So like I mentioned in the previous live stream and in the new book that I did, I talked about the health system. So I have my food cards. So in the bottom were those power toughness ones I was indicating that indicate rarity. So like, you know, card 1 of 3 or 2 of 5 or whatever. For my food cards, these are different. The food card, the first number indicates how many times you can eat the food. So pumpkins are big, so I said you could eat the food twice or use the card twice. And the second thing is the number indicates how much health it recovers. So in this case, the pumpkin can be eaten twice, and every time it eats it, it will give you back 35 health. So that's how I organize my food. And then the question is, well, how many times do you know if it's been eaten? You know, because through... Oh, hey, Brant. Thanks for joining me on this lovely Saturday. Whoop, I just lost my screen. There it goes. I'm missing... I haven't seen you in a long time, man. So when it comes to this, I use these stickers. These are unique. I'm the only one that has them at this time. But again, you can use stamps if you wanted to. What I do is on the back of the pumpkin card, or any card that can be eaten or used multiple times, I put... Oh, no problem, Sean. No problem at all. I'm actually excited to see... I love to see character classes and like species and on how people do them, because again, what I love about this whole little group that we have here is we all just kind of start with one idea and then everybody goes all over the place. Exactly. What better way to spend it than watching some guy talk about stuff? But I appreciate you being here. So anyway, I'll finish this thought because I keep messing it up. On the back of my card, so if I grab old pumpkin again, what I do is I grab the pumpkin, I plop on the stickers on the back, and then what happens is that I turn around and then I stick the stickers, and when a kid eats the food for the first time, I pull the sticker off the back. I had tried to do this by having a little pad of paper in my desk, where if a kid, you know, had a pumpkin card and they used it, I would write, you know, Jordan, pumpkin, 1 left. But then kids started to trade cards, and then I had to find out the lineage. It's like Ancestry where did you get it? Where did you get it? Where did you get it? And I found out kids were trading cards that were fully used when I made the mistake of, not collecting it or grabbing it. So those stickers have actually helped out quite a bit for me. So it can be a bit tricky sometimes. Sometimes they fall off. I don't have a lot of multi-use cards, so it's not super tricky, but it is something to maybe check out when you have those different kinds of things, for sure. Anything coming up that anybody wants to know about, or should I just kind of move along to the next couple things I was going to talk about? One of which was going to be assessment and an example of a rubric and how I keep them vague. Actually, yeah, so Alicia, my cards started all as single-use cards, and it was only last year that I started adding kind of the multi-use cards. Some of my resource cards I put on gold, and I said that it was like super lumber, and you could use it 3 times or whatever. You know what, Brant? I'll tell you, that is one thing that I'm struggling with when it comes to the battle board myself. I haven't used mine in a long time because February and March ruined my life this year. We missed so much time with that polar vortex wind and all that stuff, and that school was destroyed, from the conventions to no buses to we have a school ski trip for the whole school, then where half of the school goes to Jasper and all these. So the battle board thing, it's been an up and down one this year. Yeah, so like Jordan said, doing them at lunch is something that I've had kids that want to do. I'm not a big staff room guy, so I don't mind going in and out if I have to. Some days when I do questing, I try to design quests, like a silent vocab one, like where I put the video of the eyeballs on the screen, so that I know I can go do something on the side, away from the microphone, and move something around, and try to cycle them through. The daily rules does help. The struggle that I've been really... 8 lunches? What? That is... wow. Yeah, see, and again, like, it comes up to giving up your lunch, and like, so in Jason's case, right, with admin and stuff. So it is a bit tricky. Yeah, so essentially, January was 4,000 kids. Oh my god. That is crazy. Can't wait to watch my eyes jump out of my head in the replay. Yeah, so don't feel bad, Brant. Mine came to a halt kind of that beginning of February. It's just, yeah, crazy. So, yeah, it's, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I'm trying to find a better way, but before I got totally just sideswiped with the 4,000 kid thing, what I realized is the dice are such a huge factor. If you've got kids, attacking with big level weapons, rolling 20s, killing monsters and moving quick, but even if myself, I'm rolling 1s and 2s and 3s, and we don't have weapons, and they're just punching each other with the 6-sided dice. Like, my god, it can take a really, really long time. So bleh, I lost all my words. I am going to struggle my way through this summer. Now that I've got the move, got the school classroom, I won't have to do any reset. I don't have much that I have to do over the summer. So my goal is going to be to figure out a way to manage it better, I guess you could say, because yeah, I am finding it to be a struggle, more than I've ever found it to be. And I think the more that I add to it, the more that time it takes. So it's about that careful balance. The medieval fair, you gotta love it. William, just William. Looks like I've got another troll student. I'll see how it goes. I actually messaged those Brook Fair people. Okay, let me switch my feed here. Kaboomba. Okay, and let me open up this. So, I am blind right now. I can't see my screen. It's kind of driving me. I'm just talking to nothing. So, hopefully this makes sense. I'm just going to peek in and see that that's what you see. Oh, here come all the people. Fantastic. I'm just letting the delay go here so I can see that you see the screen, okay? Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to hop back here. So there's an example of a rubric. Someone's asked me about the assessment. So one of the things that I've stated quite a bit is that I always say I give the goal or the story, then I give the goal, but I don't connect the path in between because I want it to be interpreted in any way, shape, or form that the kids want so that they can bring about whatever passion or creativity element that they want to the game. So, excuse me. So there's an example of design a cell. So this is one of the quests that I reference a lot because I'm proud of this design. So what I did was, excuse me, I'm now coughing. Sarcoidosis. Killing me. So what I did was, I created a task where the end result was the cell model project, which is classic every science class ever. So in creating that, what I did was I needed a rubric. Oh, see, now I'm getting all stuck in between stuff. This is confusing. I'm not a good live streamer. I'll do this and I'll come back to the question because I can't see the chat stream right now. So when it comes to rubrics, here's kind of like my tip. This was my design a cell project. So my design a cell project essentially was they had to figure out a way to preserve knowledge. So when I said, you got to design a cell, of course all they did was Google design a cell and I got all of the blobs of styrofoam. So what I did for this instead, and I can hear my dog barking now, which is almost my cue. So what I did was I created a story where they said they come across a guy, he gets hit in the head. When he gets hit in the head, he's losing his memory, and he gives them information, which is my notes, my material, or their content, their curriculum. And then he says he's got to preserve it for the future. So there's your narrative, there's your goal, so connect the piece. So I give these kids the rubric, and I say, okay, so I want it to be neat, because if you're going to keep it, I'm tapping my screen as if you can see it, because that's how smart I am. How about I do this? So first thing I do is I always have a category of attractiveness. So I always say, if you're giving me a project, it's got to be well planned and well laid out, because I have to be able to understand what it is you're doing. I don't want it to just be a big jumbled mess. So that's an easy rubric category that's wide open, okay? Because even someone was like, what if I gave you a song? I'm like, well, does the song make sense? Do the lyrics make sense? Is it clear when you sing it? That's the same thing for attractiveness. Second thing is originality. I put Google right in the words because I want them to understand that I don't want them to just Google cell model or how do I make a cell, because you're going to get the same projects. So originality just states there's nothing that they did, essentially no graphics were made or included. It's just text that's boring. Or am I going all the way to something that I've never seen before, or something that's well thought out and well planned? For the cell structure, we talk about 6 specific structures. So I said, do I got 4 to 6, 2 to 3, 1 or none? Like, what did you give me? These kind of generic things don't lock kids into boxes of this is what I have to have. So even if a kid struggled with being able to explain mitochondria, and they don't have to put it in because of this here. Peeking in. I always, because grammar and LA and comprehension, everything's kind of low right now in our district, specifically in our area. I always include grammar and punctuation because I want kids to put the emphasis on the writing component of things. Even if it's drawing, are you writing? Because none of you will be shocked. You're all teachers. With how many times these things come in and the title of the project is spelt wrong. And you're like, please look twice. please take a look. So I just use that, again, to finish up content, as long as what I'm looking for here, as I was mentioning, if, they didn't know mitochondria, they're not going to get dinged for not knowing it, but it's going to help them. So they're going to focus on 4 things they know, and then kids will always go the extra mile if they know that they can include more. And then labels, I need to know that it's labeled in some way, shape, or form. So if it's a physical thing they've created, is it labeled? If it's a song, is it clear through the lyric sheet that they gave me, what component goes with what lyric and things like that. So when I keep these kinds of things much more wide open, I've been getting a lot more creative work. I'm going to flop back my streams here. So, what? Oh, I can, yeah, I can send that rubric, that's no problem. I'll post the rubric in the description of this video, I'll just put it in Google Drive. But essentially by putting these things more generalized and saying, it doesn't matter to me how you preserve the knowledge or how you create the map or the topography, I can't even talk, topography assignment, whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter to me how kids do it, it matters to me that they do it. And if you've seen me speak, I know Rami sent me snippets of the video he created from Getka, and it looks freaking amazing what he did, just absolutely incredible. So if you've ever seen me kind of deliver that talk, I just talk about the importance of giving kids the opportunity. Yeah, Sean, 100% what you're saying is exactly it. I could take kids' work, Google what, cell model, and the first image, like literally the first image, like this is what I need to do, bang, there it is. So, and I tell kids by putting the word Google in, I'm like, I'm going to look up your project. And if I find it again, I'm not expecting kids to reinvent the wheel for the next 20 years. But if I find your project exactly on the internet with no modifications, no tweaks, anything, then you're not going to score well in that category B. And then there's going to be some education purists who will watch this in the future at some point, and they will say, well, what about kids who aren't creative? Well, everybody is creative in their own sense. So I don't care if I get a trading card game. That's actually a good idea. If I get a trading card game to explain cells that can be exchanged, if I get memes, whatever it is, when the kids choose what the layout is, the passions come into play, and you get huge difference in buy-in. When it comes to it. So again, that's just kind of that type of rubric I showed you is one I use regularly, and I'll just tweak the categories kind of as I need. So if there's more writing, I'll put one category for grammar and one for spelling, just to give more life to the rubric. I'm not super hardcore about it, but I want to put emphasis on it just because that's something that our district requires kind of some growth in, or our school some growth in. So. Then the other things with assessment, literally, I just calculate the percentage they got and then what percentage of that turns into XP. So if I had something like, what was it? If they had a battle sheet out of 40 marks, then I turned around and for those 40 marks, they got 20. And it was out of 500 XP. Well, you go 20 out of 40, which is 50%. And then 50% of the 500 possible XP means they get 250. So it's just one little bonus extra step that I gotta chuck in there, but when I do it, it seems to just help kids with that emphasis of growth. See, that's funny. I had that exact scenario for white blood cells being the bouncers. The patrons of the bar were the red blood cells. The bartender was the heart. And something like that, but it was a cool one. That's funny. We had the same thing. So I've been going for about 50 minutes here. Is there anything that people want to know, or questions or things like that? Hiccups, good, bad, ugly, success stories you've had? Let me know. I would be more than interested. If you got nothing, I'll show you the game that I'm going to be doing on Monday that I'll try to film. I call it Spellbound. Kind of show you how it works. And then, yeah. Forgive the awkward silence because I kind of read in the live stream as I do this. So. I'm realizing I'm not talking, which is probably not beneficial for a live stream. I am going to take the my hiccups are kids cheating at dice rolls and grading their stuff wrong to get more XP. So I'm going to make the assumption here that your kids are marking their own work the way I do it. So the easiest thing to do is to give the work to somebody else to mark from a different team. And then what you do when you have that is if they cheat, they are negatively impacted as well. So, but so the next step to it is if I'm marking your work and I cheat on your behalf, I get the penalty because I cheated for you. If you figure out it's premeditated, then you and me both get the penalty. This is not uncommon when it comes to kids, especially your hyper-competitive kids. The solution that I found to any kind of cheating or rule breaking and stuff is making the example of the one or two kids that do it early on, removing them, giving them a punishment. Like if you're not going to play by the rules of the game, you're going to get, like you would get a penalty in hockey or whatever. You are going to be removed for a chunk of time. And then I think I tweeted this before, I ramp up the fun and I go crazy with the fun while they're like sitting in the corner doing nothing but like a boring sheet or something terrible. And then from that point on, I'm like, if you want to come back, you have to, exactly that, just like being cursed. So then I bring them back in and I say, look, if you're going to cheat, you saw what you lost, and then to come back, they have to earn it. And then, I do the 3-strike rule. I've never had to get to 3. I've had kids get to 2 who really push the limits. But when they know that you mean business and they know that you're not lying, they know that you're going to come forward with it and you're going to actually remove them from the game. And again, like I said, I'm a bit nasty, so I'll turn around and I'll have like super fun activities. And I'll literally, because I've been working on relationship building for forever with these kids, and I'll turn and be like, this really sucks, you're missing this, eh? Who wants to have the most fun they've ever had? And I like really ramp up and big prizes and reward and bonuses and throw candy all over whatever, just to make them realize that like you have to realize how good you have it, because the amount of work that me, i.e. you as a teacher, is putting into the classroom, you have to understand that don't take it for granted. I was once called a unicorn by another teacher. Because they're like, you should probably pay attention because very few teachers do this right now and you are missing out on that opportunity. So keep in mind what it's like to have this taken away when you want something different. So that was helpful for me. I didn't know a teacher did that. I found out after because they're like, a teacher called you a unicorn, and I'm like, good. So we had someone get assassinated by his own group. Yeah, you were telling me about that, which is actually pretty cool. But an anonymous assassination. It's actually pretty cool. So yeah, those are some tips and tricks that I found. In terms of test cheating, when I started penalizing both kids, not the kid who convinced the kids to cheat, but the kid who actually did the cheating, that actually helped quite a bit. So, and again, that can be removal, that can be you have to do another version of the test, whatever the case may be. Again, you'll know your kids more than I would, so whatever kind of are their bigger motivators. Anything again in particular? My kids wanted... Oh, hey, Francis. My kids wanted to learn to play and paint minis. Seeing my board, I asked one of them, so they sent me 2 boxes of paint and brushes. Around D&D is next to me. Yeah, see, I have heard about this. I emailed them, and I didn't get a response, which is fine, because I've got lots of stuff. I'm actually lucky. But good for you for doing it. That's awesome. And it is super cool to see that this I must admit, this is one of those things where I think it's awesome because people, this is kind of a perfect little segue. People have asked, like, how much tech do you need for a gamified classroom? And my answer is zero. My answer has always been zero because look at the buy-in. When you got kids who want to actually physically hold the game pieces instead of them being buttons on phones and computers and TVs and stuff like that. They want to get involved and they want to, you know, they want to, yeah, they want to get involved with the hands-on aspect of stuff because, yeah, sure. So yeah, it's one of those things where like the hands-on stuff is just so good for them that I'm really glad to hear, like, Francis, that you're doing that, and like people are building battle boards, and you know, you might not get the most use out of them sometimes. Some weeks go crazy, all that kind of stuff. Oh, I'm lagging like crazy, it looks like. I think my computer's dying. So yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, it just, I love that people are doing that. The hands-on thing is so good. The tech, you lose some of the buy-in when it comes to technology because it becomes just like anything else. So even a gamified classroom can become like anything else if it's a heavy emphasis on technology and things like that. Okay, what do we got here? Basing my theme around Star Trek and how the discussion would be abandoned planet without good reason. Ooh, I like that idea, Sean. That's pretty cool. Oh, best friends. If I ever redid my game, I'd totally go zombie. I love zombie. And I started doing mine just before the cusp of like the explosion of Walking Dead. So that's one of the things that I would do zombie for sure. Fortnite has so many good game mechanics that kids relate to that you can put into your classroom, like the aspect of the storm, which means if you don't get something in a certain amount of time, when everybody moves on, you're taking damage as a character because you're behind or you get lost. That's where I got the idea of gold cards when it came to the gold weapons that are most powerful. So there's actually like a lot of cool tips and tricks that you can pull out of Fortnite. It looks like I'm lagging like a son of a gun. My poor pewter. I think that's something I'm going to get myself if I ever have extra money again. Okay, let me do this. I'm going to share with you this idea, and then I'm going to call her a night because my dog is yelping in the kennel, and I feel bad for him. And he's probably waking up my whole family. Okay, let me switch my streams. And let me show you a game. Oh, okay, perfect. You don't need to see this ugly mug anyway. Okay, so let me kind of show you this game that I'm doing. I'm doing a game called Spellbound. So this is a game I've actually been doing for years, and I saw that that Egg Dash challenge, and it's kind of a version of the Egg Dash, but it's got a little bit more gamified elements as to where his is kind of like a go, answer, go, answer. Mine is like go, answer, penalties, attacks, things like that. So the first thing you want to do is you want to create some trivia questions. So each one of these between the lines is different trivia questions. For myself, I created 37. This is the review before their big final boss battle with Photo Cobra. If I got any students watching this live stream, we're about to get a hell of a advance about what's going on Monday. But I've got all these questions. Second thing I do is I create a big scoreboard. You can do this on the whiteboard, but this is easier because I laminate this. And that's what I put on Twitter, the picture of the big laminate sheet I did. And then what they do is as they answer questions, they cross them off. So they go to their guilds. In the front of the classroom is each one of these questions. I have them all cut out with a number on the back and then laminated so that they don't get destroyed, because in a competitive race game, they're going to get destroyed. Then I put them face down with the numbers face up, all in the front of my room. I have lots of kids who want to wear hats. So I have kind of hats or a scarf that I bring in. And the only person allowed to run and leave the guild is the person with the scarf or the hat on their head, so we determined that. And when I say go, one runner comes up, grabs a question from the front, goes to their guild, and they have to answer it. When they answer it, the runner comes up to me and shows me the answer. If they're correct, I give them the correct. They go to the front. I have this scoreboard just magnetized to my board. The reason, again, I laminated is because when you got to rewrite all the numbers between classes, I have back-to-back classes and I don't have time. So I can just literally wipe out the whole thing by wiping off the laminate paper and then just scratching off as needed. And it also allows me to update their guild. The reason you don't put this at their table is because when it is at their table, what happens is they will cheat. They will indicate that they have answered certain things when they haven't, and that's just natural. So you just got to be careful about that. Now that I've got that done and I've got my questions done, this is the twist. The goal is to have the most crossed out at the end of class. The twist is these cards. So these are cards that I only use these once or twice a year, and they're specifically for this battle. And what I do is I take them, and here's what they do. So I have Ice Ball. Ice Ball allows you to freeze somebody from a guild for 2.5 minutes. So I have a hula hoop, a big couple hula hoops in the front corner of my room, and you can cast an ice ball onto somebody, and it can freeze them for 2.5 minutes. So they're kicked out of their group for 2.5 minutes. Which is fun because all of a sudden, if you have a kid who's constantly answering questions and dominating the group, you will see them get kicked out a ton. And they don't need the review, so it's fine that they get kicked out. Blast of Winter uses dice. It's the same principle, except you freeze an entire guild for 30 seconds times the roll of a 6-sided dice. So they can use Blast of Winter, freeze a guild, and freeze them for 3 minutes if they hit a 6, for example. Now you need counteracting ones. So you can actually melt the ice spells put on you by using fire. So fire burns calculators from a group, which means they can't use calculators for any calculation questions. Or if an ice attack is used on you, it can free one person. So if I was ice balled, I can just have the fireball card and boom, I'm unfrozen and back in the game. But if I've got 3, 4, 5 people frozen with Blast of Winter, what I can do is I can only unfreeze one of them. So you got to be strategic about when you can use it, and each card can only be used once. So that's the attack defense. Poison makes 3 people sick for 3 minutes. So you can actually eliminate them for 3 minutes. The counteract to that, of course, is now my Dragon Blood card. Dragon Blood. This actually came from, they're actually using the Komodo Dragon's blood as a new antibiotic. And when I taught kids about that, I then made a card called Dragon Blood to heal the poison. But again, you can only heal one person, so you have to be strategic about who you use. And then the last one is Lightning in a Bottle. This makes them have to redo a question. So that means if I answered, question 1, I go here, and I answered question 1, and it's scratched off, they can come up to me, play Lightning in a Bottle, and I'll go up to that guild's group, and I will erase it and say, oh, you have to do question 1 again. If you're so smart, Lightning's got to strike twice. And then they have to do it again. So you can only have one question at a time. You can only, let me switch my feedback. You can only, where am I all over the place? Okay. You can only use one at a time. You can only answer one question at a time. And when you pick it, you cannot give it back for 5 minutes or a couple of attempts. So you can't have kids run back up. Oh, I don't know this one. Oh, I don't know this one. Oh, I don't know this one. They actually make several attempts to it. They're given each one of those cards at the beginning of the game. So each guild has the same amount of cards. The plot twist is that I print one extra of each one, and I let them pick it blindly so that one group might have 2 fires to protect them from more ice attacks. And that's the unknown variable that keeps them excited about not knowing which cards other groups have. Because that one extra one could be, if you're attacking a group a ton with ice, they might have the extra fire that's going to freeze people and unleash them back into the game. So they're starter cards exclusively for this game only. At the end of class, they have to give them back to me, and I line them all up to make sure I've got one of each for my 5 guilds. So I call that Spellbound because it's got magic. And it's kind of a trivia racing game. The response was really positive from Connect 4 Shots. So with Connect 4 Shots, that people like the idea of the rapid fire up and back and forth and moving. And then when I saw the Egg Dash videos, I was like, oh my god, I've been doing that for years. Actually, the first 2 times I had newspaper reporters come to my class, that's the game I had going on, which was a lot of fun. So we have been going at this for over an hour. We are amazing. Any final thoughts or questions from anybody? Oh my god, some of the freeze frames of my faces coming up here are just spectacular. Alright, awkward silence from me. The quick story about my jail. So you have the idea of a penalty box. I had kids who said they wanted to make a jail. This was 4 years ago. And when they made the jail, I ended up inadvertently creating the Stanford experiment where a couple kids assumed jail guard roles and then like had massive power trips and were putting everybody into, yeah, like it's just madness. It's just one of those things where you gotta be cautious about using it and how it's enforced, because then kids started to rebel against the guards and like were bugging them outside of school, and I had to have like these big talks, and we had to, yeah. Oh, there you go. Save, yeah. Can you tell I'm tired? Yes, penalty box within guild battles is good, where you can kind of pull. So when I say the hula hoop, that's kind of like the Punisher zone, where I chuck kids in when they have certain cards or attacks used against them. Oh, and you're going to want them to have, if you have stopwatches, sure, or they have to have a cell phone flat on the ground, or for me ground because I don't have desks, but on the table, where they run their timers. So, you know, if I was kicked out for 1 minute, they got to run a 1 minute timer and so on and so forth, just to keep that up. I tried to run all the timers once and epic fail. I need to get a computer that can handle this better, and then I will have just a marathon live stream one night, Alicia. Okay, people, I'm going to call her a night because my dog is yelping like crazy. Oh, real quick about timers, Jordan. Remy had put on, I hope I say his name right, had put on that you can have multiple smartboard timers if you have a smartboard in your classroom. So yeah, you could do that. Or again, I just use the technology. This idea of banning phones, I could do a whole friggin' live stream about that for the rest of my life. But using cell phones to your advantage is good. They just have to be flat out. Put them on airplane mode or whatever, so you can't be getting any information. I know you're not Googling. And then put them flat out, and then just, you know, set the timer and then leave it flat. And then that works. Yeah, apparently you can. I don't know. I'm not a big smartboard guy, but I believe it was Ramy who had mentioned that. You can find him on Twitter. You know him, so. Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you very much, everybody, for hanging out with me on a Saturday. I'm gonna go hang out with my puppy because he is fed up of listening to me talk and not being with him. So, perfect. All right, people. Thank you for hanging out. As usual, you know my social media stuff, so reach out to me if you need any help. Again, I'm no expert. You guys are a lot smarter than I am, so continue to use each other as you guys always do. And yeah, thanks for hanging out with me on a Saturday. And for those of you going back to spring break, enjoy your Monday. I'm going to run that game, film it, and I'll get a video out hopefully the next week or two. And the talk from Getka will be coming out soon as well. Ramy has finished that video, and it's pretty cool. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I really, I don't know why I like this so much, but like I was looking forward to this all day. And sorry that last night didn't work out. So thank you guys. Take care, and I am out. I should do my YouTube ending.